One of my favorite pieces of science fiction media is the 1997 television series Stargate SG1. I will admit that things like Star Wars and Star Trek are a little better than SG1, but I do like the premise and setting of the Stargate franchise better than those other two. SG1, at least when it was released, was set in the modern era, not in the future, not in a galaxy far, far away, but in the time when instant teleportation and CRT monitors can coexist. I also find the characters in SG1 easier to relate to than characters that are in a fantasy setting. Stargate SG1 is the direct sequel to the 1994 movie Stargate, starring Kurt Russell as Colonel Jack O'Neill and James Spader as Dr. Daniel Jackson. O'Neill, the military leader, and Jackson, the archaeologist, along with an elite team of cannon fodder, traveled to a distant planet called Abydos via the titular Stargate. The Stargate is basically an ancient portal that utilizes a wormhole to allow for interstellar travel, as long as there's another Stargate on the other side. Long story short, they fight some parasite aliens called the Gould, they free the human slaves, there's Egyptian gods, blah blah blah. End of movie. Now here's where it gets good. Stargate SG-1 picks up a few years later after this mission, with Dr. Jackson being played by Michael Shanks and O'Neill being played by MacGyver's own Richard Dean Anderson. The sequel show is about a four-man team called SG-1, including Colonel O'Neill, Dr. Jackson, Major Samantha Carter, an Air Force scientist played by Amanda Tapping, and Teal'c, played by Christopher Judge, who is a Gould turncoat who swore his allegiance to Earth in the pilot episode. The series tracks SG-1 as they engage in war with the Gould and befriend or aggravate many other alien races along the way.
You have demonstrated their weakness may be found through a less sophisticated approach. We are no longer capable of such thinking.
Wait a minute, you're actually saying that you need someone dumber than you are? You may have come to the right place.
They operate as a part of the secret U.S. government program called the Stargate Command, or SGC. Stargate brings up many ethical questions in a similar episodic way to Star Trek, except there's a lot more guns and explosions. The potential ethical issues with the Stargate itself are not always directly addressed in the show, but the framework for them is displayed in several episodes. In the episode 2010, the show explores an alternate future in which the SGC is revealed to the rest of the Earth when the U.S. allies itself with an alien race called the Ashen. The Ashen, over the course of the following years, succeed in limiting the procreation of the human race via some secret sciencey means. What's interesting about this episode is that in this alternate future, the Stargate is essentially treated as an exclusive airport operated by the U.S. government. This brings to light the fact that if there was only one portal to the rest of space on Earth, and it was controlled by the U.S. government, they could limit how and where the entire world travels through the galaxy. Instead of travel being determined largely by socioeconomics, it can be used as a political tool. Stargate, even in the regular timeline of the show, is often used as an escape hatch in the event of the destruction of Earth, which is something that is threatened pretty often on the show. This allows for the essential personnel to survive and reestablish the Earth's population on another planet. So who decides who gets to live or die? Once again, the U.S. government. Now, I'm not saying the government is ethically wrong as its own entity, but there isn't a system nor person in the world that could or should decide who lives in a society and who dies. However, these kinds of issues exist in our world today, with problems like organ transplants or the death penalty. The unique thing about the Stargate in the show, along with a lot of the other alien technology that SG-1 acquires throughout their travels, is that it is unreplicatable. The Stargate was created by an old mysterious race called the Ancients, and the idea of the limited Stargates throughout the galaxy is something that comes up a lot in the show. However, focusing on the technological idea of the Stargate, let's say that the human race were able to have more than one Stargate, maybe even a Stargate per home. What are the ethical implications there? If interstellar travel were to become as common as owning automobiles for most Earth residents, then we could potentially lose our sense of identity as a people. This type of instantaneous travel would likely split the human race up into different planets. Given enough time, it may even cause further evolutions of humanity if the planetary condition changes were so drastic that they affected the DNA of future generations of interstellar travelers. Is this level of travel and exploration across the universe worth the dissipation of Earth culture and society as we know it?
Ah! I'm on vacation.
Yes, sir.
You're right, O'Neill. Too complicated. Let's just blow something up.